So welcome in former NHL winger Alan May, who played 8 seasons in the National Hockey League, knows a thing or two about free agency. Here to talk winners and losers in free agency. Starting the Eastern Conference, where Columbus certainly got better, signing Johnny Hockey, adding to a young core of Patrick Laine, Zach Werenski, and netminder Elvis Merzlikins. Alan, who was the team, though, in the Eastern Conference that you think improved the most?
I think it has to be Detroit, and it reminds me of Florida about 5-6 years ago. They went out and signed about 10 or 11 free agents, but Detroit went out and they signed a bunch of legitimate NHL players. And you look at the players, Andrew Kopp was traded from Winnipeg to the New York Rangers to help them win a Stanley Cup. They fell short, and he was a little bit banged up in the playoffs, but he's an incredible player, plays up and down the middle, can actually play all 3 forward positions. And then you have David Perron, an excellent player, Stanley Cup champion, and a guy that it played for 6 different teams in the National Hockey League, and he signed all of his contracts with St. Louis. That's the first time he's ever signed with a team other than St. Louis, so hopefully they don't trade him. But he's an excellent player, too. I just look at Dominic Kubalik. A couple years ago, as a rookie in the National Hockey League, he scored 30 goals, and Chicago was part of their, their tank job, their meltdown, whatever they want to do, their race to finish last. They just started letting really good players go for next to nothing, and this guy went for nothing. You look on the defensive side of it, Ben Sherratt and Ali Mata, 2 very good defensive defensemen, to go with the players that they already have. So I think all of a sudden you have to beieve that Detroit Red Wings were going to start overcoming and passing other teams to get a playoff spot, led by Dylan Larkin, Jacob Vrana, Marit Seider, the best, rookie of the year, one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. So, they still have Raymond, another great rookie. So you look at that, and that's a really good-looking hockey team. All of a sudden, those players are kind of maybe in the lineup, maybe in the American Hockey League, all of a sudden they're pushed out by all legitimate National Hockey League veterans.
You also like the Senators as well as a team that improved the most in the Eastern Conference.
Absolutely. You look at what they've done in the last little bit. A couple of trades, and they get Talbot from Minnesota, who was their starter last year. So it legitimizes their net. They got rid of Murray, who was a question mark for them and never really picked up and, catered to where they were and what they wanted from what he did with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then you look at up front, the veteran Claude Giroux, 3 years. He's an incredible face-off man, but he can play left wing, right wing, center. He competes, penalty kill, power play. You name it, he's there, and he's a solid citizen. This guy wants to play in Ottawa. Actually, he already lives in Ottawa. It's not his hometown, but this guy is a great veteran to have in your squad. And then you look, the other guy he's probably going to play with, Alex DeBrincat, one of the most electrifying players in Chicago the past few years, a proven goal scorer. Guy will probably get 40 goals this year. So you look at them, all of a sudden, with that great crop of young players that they have, they had these 2 guys, they had a legitimate goaltender, a starter, and you've got to believe that Ottawa has to start believing that they are ready to be in the playoffs and compete for Stanley Cups in the next year or 2.
Always nice to play close to home. So Claude Giroux, the 7-time All-Star, looking to help his hometown club, Ottawa, now as he moves to the Senators. All right, now to the Western Conference, where Colorado is looking to run it back. Before free agency, the Avs acquired Alexander Georgiev from the Rangers, re-signed Val Nichushkin, who was awesome in the playoffs, and hung on to Arturi Lehkonen, who was also good. Alan, you got to like what the Avs have done to reload.
Absolutely, and just making sure that they kept most of their UFAs. And they still have Nazem Kadri out there who's got some tough decisions. If he goes back to Colorado, it'll be less than the market would bear for him right now. And I think that's what's taking time with him. But you look at able to keep Manson, a big-time free agent for them, Lehkonen, the trade for Georgiev, Helm and Cogliano, 2 important role players, penalty killers, guys that can play defensively for you late minutes in games. So you add up, they just try to keep what they already had. They lost Burakovsky. There's no way they could afford to have all of these guys. Burakovsky was hurt, wasn't able to participate in the last few games of the finals. He signs with the Kraken. But look, they've got to worry about having McKinnon, giving Nate McKinnon, who's been the best value contract-wise the last 6 or 7 years in the National Hockey League. So he's got to get fair market value next year. So Burakovsky's a casualty of that. But at the same time, all those guys they traded for at the end of the season, at the NHL trade deadline, they were able to keep, and I think that's huge. So basically, they're going to be almost the entire team that won the Stanley Cup that hoisted it together. And get your injured players back, you get a hold of your players re-signed, that's a pretty good thing. And if they get Kadri back, wow, it's going to be incredible because he fit in so well with the Colorado Avalanche.
What stood out to you about what the Canucks did?
Well, I think the Canucks, they just barely missed the playoffs. And when you look at, they added Mikheyev from the Toronto Maple Leafs, who was a very good player. At least the games that I covered last year and the playoff games that I watched him in, he was a solid out there, a goal scorer, a solid checker, uses his side, has great speed, excellent shot and touch. So you look at that. And then Kuzmenko, who is one of the top free agents out of the KHL, and a guy that is actually buddies with Mikheyev, so that'll help him to have some familiarity to what's going on there. And a couple of players in-house keeping Brock Besser, re-upping him for 3 years. That's an important signing. So, they've had a little bit of uncertainty with JT Miller, whether they're going to keep him or he signs an extension. He scored 99 points, I think it was, last year. He was their best player game in and game out. And as a hockey fan, I don't want to see him leave there because this is a really exciting team. And you just had a couple of other pieces. They were a little bit top-heavy. You get Curtis Lazar, who's turned into a very serviceable role player in the National Hockey League. So just little moves there. They didn't have to go wholesale. They still have a young nucleus, keep guys healthy, a better coaching staff right now than where they were a year ago. And I like the Vancouver Canucks.
All right, Alan, from winners to losers, who's the team that hasn't helped themselves enough thus far? In other words, your biggest loser to this point?
I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm not smiling because I said that, but I just look at, this is a team that's been blaming goaltenders for their playoff woes the last few years. And they took a couple of guys, Ilya Samsonov and Murray from Ottawa, two guys that hadn't played very well, who've been inconsistent. Murray's had some consistency issues and a lot of health issues, repeated issues with concussions, and his foundation of how he plays the game is not very well. So I look at that. They lose Mikheyev. They let him escape from there. Andre Kasha, who is a very good player, went healthy for them. They have Jason Spezza retire. So I look at them. There's something going on there. I'm not sure what they're up to. They could be up to setting up a big trade with some of the players they have, but I just don't think that they improved themselves. For a team that was blaming their goaltenders, I just think it's very bizarre that all of a sudden they go out and get two goalies that cost more than the guy that they could have kept in Jack Campbell. So Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov, two very inconsistent goaltenders the past few seasons. And you know what? You have to believe in your goaltenders, no matter what level, age group, professional, non-professional, collegiate, junior, amateur, you name it. You've got to believe in your goaltenders. And I just think they added a whole bunch of question marks to the most dangerous media market in the National Hockey League.
Well, you may not believe in Toronto, but Vegas believes in Toronto. The Maple Leafs have the second best odds to win next season's Stanley Cup behind the reigning champion Avalanche, who I know you like to win the Stanley Cup. Alan May breaking down free agency for us here on CBS Sports HQ. New season is scheduled to begin October 7th when the Sharks and Predators will play the first two games in Prague. A few days later, the Avalanche will raise their Stanley Cup championship banner, looking to run it back. Plus 350. The Avs were the favorites to win the Stanley Cup going into last season, and they won it. Perhaps history will repeat itself.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.